Okay, let's get to it. We're going to talk about this Mercury Chakra, which is the throat chakra. When you get to voice, whatever it is that you choose to voice. And Mercury is responsible for communication, community, right? Primarily. And of course, we got short distance travel, working with the hands, merchants, commerce, things of that nature. Consolidation of ideas, advertising, communicating an idea with, I would say, in a more swifter type of way, with intent. Those are the things that are Mercury related. So you can see how we can utilize that chakra to get across the intentions of our soul, the intentions of our heart, the intentions of our desires as well. I got product. I got product. I got product. Nonetheless, Mercury rules over communication. When we're talking about the chakras, we're going to be talking a lot about the throat chakra, of how you communicate. So, and this, I just want to put this out there real quick, right? I've heard before that symbol. I'm not being negative, y'all. Just hear me out, though. You know what I'm saying? I forgot where I heard this. It might have been the Book of Wisdom, but it was brought to my attention that the symbol that people do when they, I would say Catholics or Christians, when they cross the heart up and down and across, is actually a symbol that does a disservice to the individual doing it, because what it does, or what it symbolizes, is the cutting of the heart and mind connection. Because Mercury also deals with brain processing, right? The compartmentalizing of information before or while you're communicating it. So it's kind of like severing the cord. And you, as you know, the chakra system is in alignment and goes up and down, right? So what I'm told is the crossing of the heart is actually disconnecting the heart from that alignment. Take that with how you will, you know what I mean? And make your own assessment of that ideology. I did feel like it made sense to me. Especially when observing the chakra system and doing this series. So, I just wanted to put that out there. Now, Mercury is the throat chakra is a very unique chakra, because it singles out the individual by way of revelation. See, sometimes you can pick up on people's body movements and you can say, oh, okay, I can hear what they're saying by the way that they move, right? That's a skill set as well. But some people can truly, fully reveal themselves by speaking. And the opposite exists as well. People can actually fool you or trick you or con you into believing who they truly are by way of the tongue. So it's a very unique chakra. And I know you've heard that we've got 2 eyes, we've got 2 ears, we've got 2 nostrils, right? But we got 1 mouth. Pause. Hey, yo. We got 2 feet. We got 2 hands. We got 1 tongue. You know what I mean? So, a lot of the times, one would rather be more patient and thoughtful before speaking. However, you can catch yourself in situations where people might check out on you. People might say, oh, I don't even want to hear this anymore, right? Or they could be right in front of your face and be listening to you speak and not listening anymore just because you didn't say what you needed to say fast enough. Those of us who do YouTube definitely know what this is about. Even if it's not happening with proof, you feel that pressure of, let me say what I need to say as fast as possible before the viewer turns off, you know? And I'm not saying that YouTubers abide by that. However, it's impossible for it not to cross someone who's doing content's mind, because of the attention span and how the diminished attention span as well. It's a factor now. So it doesn't mean that one shouldn't still take their time to say what it is that they want to say. I'll give you an example, right? Just yesterday, I said something and I was explaining something, and I was just speaking, just going, you know what I mean? And what ended up happening was the very next day, it manifested in my life, and it wasn't according to my preference. And it wasn't until it dawned on me, because I reflected on the situation, that I'm like, you know what? I just yesterday said something regarding this very thing that's happening right now, and now I don't like it, but I just said it yesterday. So this also shows you how strong manifestation is when it comes to the power of the tongue. You know the saying, what they say about the power of the tongue. I'm not even going to repeat it. Everybody knows what that saying is, right? So a lot of creators you see, if you look at the Simpsons cartoon, if you look at movies, prophetic movies and stuff like that, prophetic dreams that you may have had, these are all forms of communication that have the power to manifest. So in one instance where you may feel under pressure when you're creating content, and even it could be a phone conversation, so sometimes you may feel like you have to hurry up and say what it is that you're saying and make your point before the person is not listening to you anymore or something of that nature. You hurry up, and what could happen is you say things that you didn't really want to say. You just said it anyway, right? You don't have to succumb to that. You can still take your time and say what it is, or at least think about saying the things that you truly want to say. And I know this can be tedious. This can even feel like analysis paralysis. It can feel like you're not living your life. Some people will even say, they'll bring up the power of silence, which is very true. The power of silence is very powerful. At the same time, so is the power of communication, and it's all about how you leverage it, I would assume. Or I can attest to, pretty much. Let me not even assume, especially on something like that. I can attest to the powers of both of those things. But to piggyback off of the power of silence, right? Think about it, because listen, the Mercury, the throat chakra, is going to let you know just how much you're on your own in this world, too. Don't get sad, y'all. It will let you know, though. Let me explain. So think about it, right? When you get apprehended or arrested, first thing that the authorities tell you is you have the right to be what? You have the right to remain silent. And this is something that I can attest to. There's been some times when I've been apprehended and I said absolutely nothing, and I ended up going home. And I'm keeping it a bean with y'all. You know what I'm saying? I'm not, people don't do crime. Just don't. You know what I mean? Don't do crime. You won't have to be there, right? In those situations. But they even know that this is how powerful it is, because you are truly on your own. You mess around, God willing, you don't be in this type of situation, but when you're in front of a jury, or you're in front of a judge, and you're in front of lawyers and prosecutors and all these different people, they're not you. But it'd be you against the state of wherever you at. Think about that for a minute. Me versus the state. Like, how'd that happen? The throat chakra lets you know just how much you're on your own. So what I'm saying is, without saying it, is, oh, okay, if it's you versus the state, or speaking in first term, if it's me versus the state, well, then all of y'all figure out if I'm guilty or innocent. Then let the state figure it out. Y'all take the stand. Y'all testify. Y'all provide all of the evidence. I'm not saying anything. Y'all are the ones who say I did this. All right? Or they're the ones who saying that you did that. Right? So, again, God forbid any of us, including myself, go through any of those things again. But it just lets you know how much you really are alone with that one tongue of yours, Pause, because it's crazy work whenever I say tongue. It just is. Now, think about this too, right? Like, let's say this is how powerful and effective communication is. And when people say communication is key, right? This is another example of how you can tell just how alone you are in this world. Let's say wires get crossed when you're communicating with someone, and someone does not keep their word. This is where you get to find out how effective and how non-effective communication is, how essential it is, and how you really are left to your own devices and on your own when the other party either does not comprehend completely or does not put their best foot forward in the agreement, in the commitment, or just does not have the capacity or the speed, because Mercury deals with speed as well. The speed to facilitate what was spoke upon. So let's say you get in directions. You want someone to meet you somewhere. You say, hey, I'm going to be over here at this time, at this place. How about you meet me? Can you meet me? The person looks at their calendar, their watch, whatever. They make an assessment. They say, yeah, I can meet you there. As a matter of fact, I know exactly where you're talking about. I used to play softball over there. I'll meet you there. All right, say less. Boom. So the time comes for you to be there. You're there on time. Now you're looking at your watch or your cell phone and you're looking at the time and you're like, okay, 2 minutes go by, 5 minutes go by, 7 minutes go by, so on and so forth. Now, one's thoughts are more than likely going to go to that other party is not responsible, right? And of course, there can be other external factors that get in the way. Maybe the train slowed up. Maybe it was traffic. Maybe it was this. Maybe it was that. Whatever it was it communicated to you, right? Who is the person that's going, is the other party going to call you or text you, or beep you? I don't know. You got a beeper. Who are they going to reach out to you and say, hey, I know I'm supposed to meet you there. I'm going to be running late. I can see it already, I'm just giving you a heads up. The the Google Maps is saying that I'll be there in 8 minutes now. You know what I mean? It's a form of reassurance. It's a form of responsibility. It's a form of accountability. Let's say the individual does not call at all, does not reach out at all, and a half hour goes by, an hour goes by, and then you tell yourself, you know what? I'm not gonna sit here and maybe freeze or just continue to feel underappreciated, so I'm gonna just leave here and that be that. So you can understand where some relationships and commitments can fall by the wayside because of this type of behavior and activity, and accountability is going to have to play a role, I'm gathering, in any type of reconciliation when something like that happens, right? But the same way that the person is left at that corner, on that block, wherever that location is, by themselves, that lets you know just exactly how much you are on your own in this world. And when you're trying to get things done that is comprised of more than yourself, it takes a level of devotion, loyalty, and accountability to have those things carried out. Reliability is needed in the other parties to carry that thing out. And who knows whose vision it was, whose idea it was, where you were going to hang out, who chose the location, all of those things may play a role in why the meeting wasn't kept the way that it was planned. What I can tell you is this: you're going to feel alone in that moment when you're left there on your own, by yourself. And this happens, it spirals into relationships, and these are the causes for some types of breakups and fallouts and things of that nature. So when they say communication is key, you can definitely understand of how and why it is. Now, people enjoy talking to me. I can say, well, some people enjoy talking to me. Let me say that. Speaking about, the Mercury, the throat chakra. But when it separates from the heart, right, the communication can become questionable. So think of someone that you've dealt with when either one of you were friend zoned versus being in love with them, right? Now, don't get me wrong, that love can be, it doesn't have to be romantic. That love can be channeled into collaborating in the arts, something more Taurian rather than Libran. And I know Libra is, not ruled by Mercury, but it is an air quality. That's why I'm mentioning it. And Venus does rule over the heart, so it makes sense. You know what I mean? According to the way that I laid the system out for the chakra system. So you would want, when you're talking about commitment or agreements between two people, you think more Libran. Because some people may question too, well, how do you know it's your heart speaking to you in contrast to your mind? Well, when you possess empathy and you're exercising empathy, that's how you know it's your heart. You must consider the other party in order to have a heart, or to be able to utilize your heart, or else you'll close your heart off, right? Because people who have had their heart broken, let me say that, or have had their heart, damaged. And I mean like in a romantic kind of way, right? Even if it was a friendship, betrayal or something like that, they'll close their heart off. So that magnetic spark, that aura that usually, travels out wide around the heart chakra will be minimized, excuse me. Some people like to isolate now, you know what I'm saying? They're like, you know what, I'm not doing people this year. 2025, I'm not doing people. Pause, that's crazy. But I'm not doing people this year because people just be people and then I'm done. I'm tired. I'm growing tired of it. So, people will come up with methods to protect their heart. But that's how you know when someone's utilizing their heart and when they're not. And so you can channel that love into collaborations and stuff like that. It doesn't have to be harmonious. But what if it's neither? You know what I mean? Then the conversation becomes very questionable, because if you're trying to do something or achieve something with someone, yet the communication doesn't, how should I say, it doesn't warrant that, it doesn't signal to that, it doesn't hint to that, it doesn't build on that. Whether you voice this to them or not, you may do it to yourself and say, well, I wonder why we keep having this conversation or that conversation. And some people will argue, well, you're just being a friend. Sometimes people just want to talk. Sometimes people just want to vent. And I can agree to that too, right? That's just the Mercury Chakra operating on the Mercury Chakra, point blank, period. So there's no motive, there's no incentive involved, right? But I bring this to the forefront because right below the throat chakra is the heart chakra. Right above the throat chakra is the third eye chakra. So third eye chakra is going to deal with dreams and vision. Right below it is the heart chakra. You're going to want to know how to deal with other people in order to, which would be necessary in order for dreams to come into fruition. You get where I'm going with this? So it's a system that goes up and down, as above, so below. It's not, I would say, smart to disregard that part. Bars are nice. We already know that. But, when it comes to collaboration, a conversation is grounds for collaboration. And some people might just grow tired of that conversation because it feels like it's going nowhere. It feels like it's redundant, right? Even with love, the heart chakra, some people can be in love with you. Love is not forever. Or should I say like this? Love is not something that you can predict will be forever, right? So someone can actually be in love with you. You could be in love with them. And then they could fall out of love with you. And they can say, this isn't it anymore. And then the next thing you know, you're by yourself, right? And think about this when you're collaborating with people. This is why I'm bringing this part up. Think about this when you're collaborating with people, because the discussion, unless it's for promotional use only, the discussion of numbers is going to come up eventually. And you have to ask yourself, can you withstand the adult part of that? Because that's going to come with terms, conditions, how much that person thinks the value of the project is, in contrast to how much the other person thinks the value of the project is, and then you got to meet somewhere in the middle. You understand what I'm saying? So it's still going to take a part of that heart chakra when you're dealing with other people, or else you're going to do it on your own. You're going to be by yourself doing it. Some people are very successful at utilizing the throat chakra just to get people involved, just to get people around them, listening to them, watching them, getting the attention and the focus on them, and then they take it from there. So you could attach that to influencers even, right? They get brand deals and marketing deals based upon how many views and how many subscribers and stuff that they got. Does that mean that they have love chakra for the viewers and the followers and the subscribers? Not necessarily. They can just continue, they can tell themselves, and even if they were to get outed on it, they could just say, yo, I just grabbed a camera one day and a microphone and I started speaking what was on my mind. You know, I didn't tell those people to subscribe, or I didn't force them, or I didn't tell them to love me. You know what I mean? I didn't know that I owed them something, right? And then there's a viewer or a subscriber, they may be like, oh, they're a con man. They got a silver tongue. They duped me. I didn't know this and I didn't, you know, type of thing. So the tongue, the throat chakra, very powerful, very powerful. But like I said, communication and manifestation, I went over that already, right? But communication is key. You can speak to guard your heart as well, right? Or you can speak to profess your heart. See how that two-way thing can go? And when they speak about being double-minded, that's also like a Gemini construct, right? It's also something that is spoken or revealed by the tongue. Life and its contradictions, right? One time someone says something, next thing you know, they say another thing else, contradicts each other. And this again comes with saying, you know, what is it that makes people speak so quickly? Because Mercury travels fast, right? Mercury is also known as the trickster in astrology. So we can be in that moment of loving to hear ourselves speak. Next thing you know, we say something and it ends up being something that in certain situations for certain people they can't stand on, or they don't stand on. It's not that they can't stand on it, they don't stand on it. And it depends on the timing too. They may stand on it at one time and not stand on it at another time. And if you're watching them, you could be like, oh, how you stand on it with them, but you don't stand on it with me, you know? You're this for that person, but you're that for me. You understand what I'm saying? It can get confusing. It can get confusing when, you know, it's one thing to articulate, but it's one thing to comprehend and move on your word. You know, because, you know, keeping your word, they say action speaks louder than words, right? That's a double entendre, because you can take an action that follows through on your word, and then people will call you a solid individual, or at least you should be perceived as a solid individual for doing that. Now, other times people can say something and do something totally different than what they said, and that would be a form of action speaking louder than the words as well, because they acted against what they actually stated. You feel me? Now, back to speaking to guard your heart or profess it, right? Your ego is usually the culprit for that. You know, not wanting to be vulnerable is a reason why you would guard your heart with your tongue. But what you risk at the same time is not being understood. You also run the risk of not excelling, at least in regards to a commitment, right? Because if you're not vulnerable, you can only go but so far in a commitment. And I'm not saying to say everything to any and everyone at the same time or at one time either. You'd probably fare better compartmentalizing relationships based upon your heart feeling with them, with that person, right? You can even feel that it is the best thing to do to take your time revealing certain things to someone, even if you feel like you love them, right? It's tricky when you do that. It's tricky because lies could get told, or holding back information that's revealed later can feel like a breach of trust for the other party, right? pretty sure y'all have been in situations that are like that. Now, vulnerability, I feel, really gets people close and connected. It is. But is that what you want? And why would you want that with the person you're dealing with or speaking with? And I'm not questioning that like in a bad way. I'm like really asking you to ask yourself that, right? Just like I said earlier, the best way to use the throat chakra is to think about what you're going to say. Well, let me not say that. I would say this rather. Reflect on times when you didn't think about what you were going to say and how it didn't end up in something the way that you wanted it to end up. Right? That's what I'm pretty much saying. And you do your own due diligence after that. But when you know that you're dealing with someone and y'all are on whatever level that you are at, try to ask yourself why do you want to be vulnerable with that person? Why do you want them to know that part of you, that side of you? And I already know that it's going to have something to do with the heart chakra. It's based upon some way that they make you feel and the empathy part of it, because you picked up on they want to know how they make you feel. That's when you got some type of love going on. However, what if one is more brainier than the other? One is more passionate than the other. And that click that you're looking for doesn't necessarily happen. Well, there's going to come a time when you're going to say, well, you know what? I should probably be reluctant on that part of me and compartmentalize what it is that I communicate to that person, because it doesn't feel like they want to reciprocate that back. It doesn't look like they want to talk about those things or address those things, at least in that manner, in that tone, in that energy. Because the worst part of that, in my opinion, is if they attack you with what they confided in you with, or, if they attack you based upon what you confided in them with. It's a better way to say it, right? Because, and I would say it's different if you use it as a talking point, like, hey, you said you weren't going to do that again because last time when you did that X, Y, and Z, but look at you now. Look what you're saying now. I think that's more about care and concern and giving your peoples a pull up to, looking out for them. But when you attack them with it, or when they attack you with it, when it's used to belittle someone maliciously because they're hurt, it makes people close up. The people who it gets used against, it makes people close their heart up. And that impact can be lasting, and it causes people to refrain from speaking from their heart. So it goes right back to me talking about that hand gesture that disconnects the heart from the throat, to where people are now more cautious and they're playing more of a game. They're playing more of a mental gymnastic with you, rather than putting their heart on the table, and you can't hear their heart. And some people are very good readers to the point where they can detect what the person's not saying. Real deep Scorpio, Piscean, Cancer vibes. So it's very challenging to get around people that they deal with when they have that type of detection or that type of radar, even for you fire, air, and earth signs who have high aspects in water. You can attest to this as well. But, people will still do it nonetheless because they're trying to guard, they're trying to protect something, they're trying to hide something about themselves. And sometimes it could be on how they feel about you. It could be so many different things. This is so much of a complex situation, really. I could actually talk about this for hours. However, I'm not. I'm going to cut it short now because I just wanted to express the fundamentals of what the Mercury Chakra is. You can be a trickster if you cut the cord between heart and mind, and it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the end all and be all. That when you sever that connection, that you're doing it with the intent to be a trickster. It could just mean that you're protecting your heart from now on because your heart has been broken before and you refuse to have that type of violation occur anymore. And I get it. You know, it's the same thing as people saying, oh, so this is what I'm saying to you. View it as the same way that people say they're vibing high. They're only dealing with people who are on a higher frequency. They're not dealing with people who are on a lower frequency. That's what that is. They have actually severed that cord, because sometimes people can use emotions to guilt you into communicating with them in such a way that opens up that heart chakra, right? Opens up the desires. And you know, if you've been around the block a few times, what that can do if they don't handle you correctly. And even if you don't handle them correctly once you reach that level, right? So that is why people begin vibing high only on that Mercury chakra. You know, they saying things, and you know, sometimes you can hear people say something and they sound real tough, right? And then you might be like, you know, you might have the gift of gab. You like, you don't really mean that. You know what I mean? And then you take your towel or your robe off in front of them. Like, yeah, you still mean that? And then they might really stand on that. Like, yeah, I meant it. I don't care your titties is out. I meant what I said. You know what I'm saying? And then you might have to go back and, you know what I mean? And look at yourself. Yeah, I guess I had to take it there. But hopefully I got my point across. If any of y'all have any type of examples that you want to put into the comment section, I would love to hear about them. And I guess what I'm asking you is, in this day and age, do you find yourself more in the higher frequency of vibing high? And not only that, when vibing high, right? Because the heart chakra is pretty high on the human anatomy, if you will. It's centered, right? It's at the center. Do you feel like a part of you is missing, or do you feel like you're doing yourself a disservice because you're not able to express your heart chakra the way you once were because of your evolution, because of the experiences that you've had? Do you feel like you're selling yourself short, but you feel like it's worth it because the feeling of heartbreak is like a feeling that you'd rather not deal with? These are the things that I'm asking you. I guess I'm also asking, are there other outlets or avenues that you participate in that brings you love? So I think self-love is a huge factor at this point because of what I'm saying. Do you love yourself enough to where you don't feel lonely and you say, you know what, I could do without so-and-so. I don't need such and such. I don't need so-and-so. I don't need the external party in order to have this feeling of love. I can get it myself, whether I'm painting, whether I'm writing, whether I'm acting, whether I'm doing cartwheels, butt naked and eating a grilled cheese sandwich. Do you do these things, and does it supplement for the other party not having the level of communication that you need in another party? With that being said, I'm out.